Up ahead this hour, a psychology professor on the ability to control your dreams, plus an author on the fascination behind dreams. And we're not only talking about the good ones. But first, let's focus on our memory and our consciousness and how that may play a role in our big question. For that, we turn to Ken Paller, whose research focuses on this topic. He is a psychology professor at Northwestern University and the director of the school's cognitive neuroscience program. Professor Paller, thank you for joining us.
Glad to be with you.
So we just got a bit of a primer on different theories for why we dream, and your research has looked at exactly that, but you've also looked at why we sleep. So I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. Let's start there. Why do we sleep?
Actually, those are part of the same question, why we dream and why we sleep. We have to really think of the whole package because these different stages of sleep happen together. And the other part of the problem is we need to think that there isn't just one answer, but rather there are many ways in which sleep and dreaming is beneficial for us. So we have to have a list of the ways they're important. On that list, I would put perhaps first, we sleep so that we're not sleepy during the day. It's good to be alert, wide awake, and that's a clear benefit. But the other benefits are not quite so obvious all the time. I think there are three other important benefits we should think about. One of these is for memory, as you mentioned, and we have to consider how our memories are dependent on what happens during sleep. But in addition to that, it's also clear that sleep is helpful for creative problem solving. And then finally, the third one, psychological well-being or health in general benefits from sleep.
I mean, those all sound like awesome things and things that definitely I think, we're interacting with on a daily basis, which makes sense as to why sleep is so important. I mean, I want to look at what's going on in our brain when we dream, though, and that kind of side of it. I want to pull this up. This is from your research. It shows our brain waves when we're awake and asleep. What exactly are we seeing here?
Well, on the left, there's a short period of wake brain activity, and you can see rather thick lines, which is because there's muscle activity on top of the brain activity. Our muscles of our face and our body are a little bit tense and just ready to be active. Whereas in the picture on the right, in the red box, this is during REM sleep when muscle activity goes way down and our muscles are very quiet, and we can see instead the brain activity clear, as well as in the red, recordings from eye movements, because this was a special experiment where we asked people to make eye movements to signal certain experiences. The first experience they signaled was whether they realized they were dreaming. And that's unusual. Most of the time we have a dream, and it's not until we wake up that we realize that we were in the midst of a dream. There's an exception, and that's called lucid dreaming, when the person actually knows that they're having a dream at the moment of the dream. So what we asked people to do was to make an eye signal to indicate that they realized they were in a dream. And they did that by moving their eyes left, right, repeatedly. And this signal was something we were able to monitor from the outside because, of course, when people are sleeping and dreaming, their muscles are relaxed and their body is not moving. Yeah. So if you try to talk in your dream, you might think you're talking in your dream, but your body is actually quite still and not moving.
What was something that was surprising to you when you were doing this research? Was there anything that really stood out to you after conducting that?
Well, there was two parts of the experiment. So one part was for them to signal to us, and they signaled with the eye movements. And the exception is that when you're dreaming, your body doesn't move. But if you dream and move your eyes in the dream, your actual eyes move as well. And so we can see that movement. We could look at the eyes, although we did it in a simpler way by putting electrodes on the face and measuring the electroactivity when the eyes move. So we could tell when someone was making a signal to us. And this person, in the figure you showed, made the signal that they were in a lucid dream. And at that point, we decided to ask them a question. And they were expecting some questions, but they didn't know which questions. We asked them a series of math questions that they could answer, again, using their eye movement signals to give us the answer. And that let us know that they were able to hear the question and interpret it correctly. And we thought perhaps dreams are so strange, maybe they won't really interpret what we're saying correctly. But in fact, they seem to hear the math problem and compute the answer and then give us the answer back, all the while staying in REM sleep. So this is important, not because we need to know math problem answers, but now we can ask people about what they're dreaming, and they can tell us in the dream what's happening rather than just waiting until they wake up, which is, of course, the big problem with dream research has been we don't know about dreams until people wake up and they're in this different state and they forget their dreams or they misremember parts of them. So now to study dreams, we have an extra method. We can now ask people about their dreams during the dream and find out what their experience is like during the dream, and then look at the brain activity at the same time and try to understand what's happening in the brain.
I mean, that's so fast. I did not know that that could even be a means of communication while you're dreaming. I think that is incredibly impressive. And we actually have some video from your studies. I want to see. Yep, there it is. I mean, can you walk us through, what's going on here? What are we looking at?
So people will come to my lab. They might engage in some memory testing, and then they can put on this cap that records the EEG from their brain. And when we plug it in, we can see these brain waves that you saw wiggling by. Yeah. Those brain waves are the electrical activity produced by brain cells. And the brain is still busy with activity during sleep. And we record that brain activity and try to understand what that means with regard to what's happening during sleep.
It's incredible. I wonder how long it would take me to fall asleep with having that on my head. It seems like it'd take a little bit of adjustment. But something we like to do here, is we like to ask our guests a final bottom line question. So my question to you, Professor, is why is studying dreaming important and worthwhile work?
Studying dreaming is part of the larger question of understanding sleep, which is again connected to understanding our waking life. And I think we're learning that our waking life and the memories we have and the decisions we make, they're a function of what we're thinking at the moment, but they're also a function of how our brain has been prepared for that moment and the memories we have. And all those memories are reorganized during sleep. Our sleep is not a time when the brain is off, but it's a time when the memories we've acquired are worked out together, put together, stored effectively, and also creatively combined in new ways, which is one of the sources of our creativity and how we can do better at solving problems that we're facing by thinking about things in new ways.
All right. Professor Ken Paller, we appreciate your insight. Really fascinating work. It's so cool to see it, too. Thank you for joining us tonight on The Why.
Thank you.